Turn off. Oh, continue. Yeah, so as per usual, we'll just record a little bit and then us speaking as facilitators, and then we'll stop recording when we do our shares for the week. So this week, that the topic of today will be grief and love, but of course, wherever you're at in this experiment, whether you're working with week 2 or wherever you're at that you want to bring into your shares, it's welcome. But we'll start with the hi Jacob, welcome. I'm really glad
Hello.
we had a little like hangout for a bit, so we're just getting going with the stuff. So I wanted to do the somatic landing a little bit different. I have this deck of tarot inspired cards from the Creative Liberation Now folks. They're here in the Bay and queer folks, and they made a whole deck, and they have this fool's journey through the multiverse. So the card that is going to go with today, and I'll show a little, see if I can get this up here. It's the birth of water. So there's a whale at the bottom. Let's see if it looks like, I don't know what's at the center, but maybe like a mandala star type thing. So wherever you're at, I'm just going to read through their little write-up that they have, and they're poets. So wherever you're at, get comfortable, see how this lands for you as we come together. So the birth of water. There is an infinite source of love around and within me. This card is also known as the Ace of Cups, the chalice full well, eternally full wellspring, the source, the agreements of the tides, one drop, the ocean, molecular sand mandala, the mediator, water this life. For this card, return to the source of unconditional love. Go back again and again to wherever it is found. Drink deep of delicious design. Drink deep from the ocean of love. And so as you're just sitting with that, like the idea of drinking deep with love, this water card, the birth of water. You can sit with that however you feel. If you need to stretch or move with it, what does that feel like for you? There is infinite source of love around and within me. What's cool about these cards is that they relate to, everyone relates to a point on the body. So this one is related to the heart, which is why I wanted to bring this in. And as the invitation is always to take care of yourself. So in this grounding moment, as we consider love and grief and the heart space, these topics that might feel really large, maybe it's things are up for you right now, or they were up, or what are the ways that we can take care of ourselves throughout this? So there's the meadow. You need to have your, you want to be lying down or have your camera off or be doing your dishes while you're here listening to us. That's the space that you could be in. The extended family. So like step back a little further from the space. The curious engagement is being involved and sharing if you want to. So consider with this topic and with love where you're at today. Where do you want to be in this spheres of familiarity that we're working with? What feels true and honest to you? And if you feel like you need more grounding to enter the space, just keep on moving your body, keep stretching. Think about your feet growing roots into the ground to hold you here. Just notice what you're feeling in your body, any sensations that are coming up. Remember those sensations, this kind of word list, these descriptive words. So, considering location of what you're feeling and how you might describe what's happening. And before we move on, we have our group guidelines. So we're gonna just kind of keep on going into our shares here, and Jeanette will post the group guidelines if you don't remember them or if you need to refer to them again. They'll be in the chat. So for today, I just wanted to acknowledge the body, like really acknowledge it as a part of what we're doing, and be really curious how that's going for you. If you feel like you want to incorporate that into your share, um, or even if you don't want to talk about the practices in general, but in your share, just noticing the sensations that you're feeling, and if you feel like you want to name them out loud, the invitation is to do so. So that we can keep returning to the body as a source of wisdom. Or maybe today that's just like not comfortable. So you don't have to do that, but the invitation is there. As we're going through all this stuff and the importance of the body as a piece of wisdom, not just in this song course or this experiment that we're doing, but how we experience ourselves and each other in the world, being able to pay attention to and learn from that, that no matter how many books we read about things or engage with topics, that stuff is really, really important for sure. But how we interact with people and how our body reacts might say something different. And that can give us a whole world of wisdom to work with. So that's why we're weaving in the body is an important element to the work that we're trying to do here at Grounded Connections and beyond. So I just wanted to add that in. I think I'm going to hand it off to Jeanette.
We wanted to just do a quick sort of housekeeping thing about saying we're almost in our last couple weeks. And we wanted to invite folks to do a one-on-one conversation with us about what's felt good, what's felt not so good, what you were hoping for, how it landed. Did you get what you were hoping for? Was there something you were hoping for that didn't happen? Because it was an experiment, we would love your feedback to help us improve it for the next time. We have some ideas of things we might want to do, but we'd love to co-create that with you. So I'm going to drop in this link to booking a hangout with us into the chat, and we'll send an email. Where did the chat go? We'll send an email out with this, and I think we've scheduled it for the 8th of June to the 18th of June on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. There's like afternoon and evening slots, and there's like a half-hour window. So I think the three of us are going to try to be there at each call, but if not, at least one of us will be there. We scheduled it in times when all three of us are available, so we're going to do our best. And we'd love to chat and hear what your thoughts are. Let me just see if there's anything else. And we desire critical feedback. So don't feel like you need to be gentle with us. If you're like, this really didn't work, we'd love to know how we could support you better or make it more engaging. So hope to see you there, and we'll send an email with the link a couple more times. So you don't have to just, it won't be lost if you don't get it in this moment, but wanted to give it to you as soon as possible. I think that's it.
Okay, so this is the time where we hand it off to Brian then to sing the song. And you're welcome to sing along. You're welcome to just listen or hum along. And yeah, consider and notice what you're feeling. If that feels like it's possible to do while you're singing, or if you just want to listen and notice how the song impacts your emotional world, or how what you've noticed in your feeling, how it lands in your body today. Thank you.
Hi guys, Jason Marabib. So I'm gonna sing the Stormach Ree. Just get myself into it a little bit. A Stormach Ree when you're far away, far from this land you'll be leaving. It's many a time by night and by day that your heart will be sorely grieving. In the stranger's land may be bright and fair, and bright in its treasures golden by Chilpine I know, for the long, long ago, and the love that was never olden. A storm of Ree in the stranger's land. There is plenty of wealth and wailing, whilst the gems adorn the great and the grand. There are faces with hunger paling, when the road seems dreary and hard to tread, and the lights of their cities will blind you, won't you turn a store to old Erin shore, and the ones that you're leaving behind you. A storm of Ree when the evening mist over mountain and meadow is falling. Won't you turn away from the throngs and list, and maybe you'll hear me calling for the sound of a voice that is surely missed for somebody speedy returning maroon. Won't you come back soon to the ones who will always love you?
Thank you, Brian. It's really nice just to sit with that. I want that track on repeat too, Sienna. So beautiful. So we have, as we kind of come out of that little like cocoon that Brian just set us in. Not a kitten. Oh my gosh. The humor. Oh my gosh. That's a lovely thing to come back to. Oh my god, it's a kitty babe. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we have our usual prompts that we can throw in the chat here. So we've been introducing ourselves to each other, but you're welcome to say your name, your pronouns. You want to continue land acknowledgement. If you have an access need that you feel like you want to share with us. And the questions that we have is just like, how did your body feel throughout this last week? So this could be related again to the heart, or if you're in a different experiment and you want to talk about how that feels this week, that's up to you. And then if you didn't really notice anything that was happening, with your body, was there anything that kind of sticks out to you as you travel back in time to this past week? Like what were the things that that you noticed? And what is your relationship to grief? If you feel like you want to talk about that. And what is your relationship to love? So these are just some ideas, or you're welcome to just share where you're at, what's coming up for you, and what you're noticing with this whole grand experiment or the weeks that you're on. So we'll start with us so that we can continue the recording, make it a little bit easier. And I'm wondering if Jeanette, if you're willing to share first.
Sure.
Also, I'm not going to be keeping time unless things get like, wobbly. But we'll just kind of, we have, I think about an hour. So
I honestly don't really know what to share because it was such an intense week. And when I was listening to Brian just now, I realized how tense I was until I started to cry. And then once I started to cry, like I felt a embodied release. And then I noticed the different the different tensenesses of my body as I released into just letting myself cry. And then so many thoughts came up in different pieces. I don't remember if I said this in my share about grief, but when my family emigrated from Ireland and then went to Scotland and then lived in the tenements there for a few generations before my grandmother, like my nan, my mom's mom, decided she didn't want her kids in the tenements anymore. And so they came to Canada. And at the time, the British state was paying for, I don't know if it was for everybody, but my family was really poor. And the British state was paying for folks with kids under the age of 12 to settle in Canada. So they were given like one-way tickets. And so they came to Canada. And when I went back and spent time with my great aunt, so my nan's sister, she was talking about how when my family left, it was like 7 deaths happened all at once because no one could afford the plane tickets to visit anymore. So I was thinking about that. But I was also thinking about like settler colonialism and the news of the children's bodies who were found at the residential schools. And earlier today, I was speaking with a friend who's mixed race Indigenous and French Catholic, and how her body was moving through this new wave of grief. And for me, it's really hard to separate my own grief around like cultural loss and loss of home and loss of language from the grief of being here and not feeling a sense of rootedness or belonging, and knowing that my being here is connected to ongoing harms and the replication of the same systems. But I also know that it's important to also sit in my own grief and loss, and how do I hold those complicated griefs? And how does my body hold those complicated griefs? I felt really tired the week we did the grief and just needed a lot of rest. And one of the things that Brianna and River and I talked about was like, maybe we could do like 6 weeks on grief and just a really long time moving through this complicated layers of grief. And what would happen if we all had space to grieve together and move through these complicated layers of grief? What would we create, or what acts of love would come out of that space? But I think the thing I got the most out of today just now was noticing how much release happens when I give myself over to just the feeling, and the bracing that happens before giving myself over to the feelings. Check.
And inviting in stretch and breath in between shares. And yeah, Jeanette, if you're okay with anyone commenting on your share, if you want to just give a yeah or put a little emoji up. Okay, we have permission. Ooh. Yeah, I guess I'll go. I'm not really sure what to say either. I feel like the song is really beautiful to me. It has this, I don't know, it just feels really Irish in the like way that it's sung. I don't know how to talk about it, but it's that like warbling of the voice or something, and the way that like that it's lower. Um, like some of the sounds were a little bit more challenging for me, so I had to have them come from here. So it really actually touched the heart, which I thought was really interesting. I was like, oh, a lot of the song feels like it's coming from this space here. I do feel like every time I listen to it, I haven't really sung it, but I've been listening to it a lot. I don't know, or I've sung it a little bit, but there's something around there's I can't even I don't even know. It's the second verse, I think. It's the one with people who are adorned and then the people who are not well, and the comparison between the two. And I don't know, there's something about that just makes me feel like every time I have this like heat rise, my shoulders kind of go up and I feel pressure behind my eyes and tears, hot tears, and I feel really tense and really fucking sad about it. And I was thinking about I've been doing these workshops with the hood hippies here in the Bay that I mentioned in my video, I think, and the decolonization for dreamers is what they're calling it. And the stuff is just like blowing me open and having to think about being like we were meditating on powerlessness. And I was like, that's so intense to think about. And then not realizing how rigid my body was and trying to always come up with solutions to where we're at. And really sitting also with like, I don't really know or understand the story quite yet of where people had come, my ancestors had come over and what happened and, what they might have been going through. I don't really know. And so I've been trying to do a little bit of research about that. But I've been like swimming in the well of this grief for about 2 weeks. And so um, that's kind of what it feels like. Or I guess my relationship would be like it's like swimming. And I don't know how like far the well goes or how long I'll be in it. Um, and then, of course, different griefs feel different. Some are more shocking, and some are just feel like water. Um, and yeah, that I don't know something about that particular verse that really. I mean, I don't know. I feel so sad about what people have gone through and still have to go through, and thinking about famine, and then thinking of like in my neighborhood, there are houseless folks who are and food insecure folks, and it's like this shit is still happening, just in these other ways, um, and I'm adorned, in fancier things, and relationships have changed or shifted, and I don't know. It feels like really confusing. I feel really hot in my whole body, like even talking about it. I feel really red and like vulnerable too to share this. And I don't really know where I'm going or what I'm going to say with it, but it's just, I feel really uncomfortable in general. And I'm just more having to like keep crying and just waiting and learning and then seeing where these paths are leading me, how I'm connecting to people, where I feel like I'm recoiling, how much I'm holding, and not sure how long I'll be swimming. Um, but this song feels like one of my favorites, though. I think because it has elicited so much. And then I sung the lullaby, um, for Mawajin too. along it. And so it's like there's something about like the combo of those two that I've been really enjoying where I'm like, I'm gonna swim for a bit and then I'm gonna come back out and kind of just be with this like tide of confusion. I'm not really sure where I'm at quite yet. So I think that's my share. Thank you. And people are welcome to comment if they like. So welcoming in a sip of water, a stretch, a hold, whatever feels good, kitten. If you got one. And breathe whenever you feel ready.
Hello again.
Sorry, I wanted to say I'm on Nishan land. I forgot to say that. So.
I'm on Cowlitz and Clackamas land here in southeast Portland. And I'm Miss Brian and use the pronouns he and they. And the song is, it's a very confusing song to sing because you're challenged to maintain your composure in the performance of it while you're also kind of living this this experience to singing and embodying the lyrics. So I had to take a couple deep breaths and I took my shoes off and I propped myself up on my hips like this. And I closed my eyes because I need to shut out most things in order to really just focus on that one thing. Because without that, I think I would probably lose the melody or lose the lyrics. It's really interesting that the singing of this, and River had mentioned that the lower register of it really is down into your heart space. And as a singer whose voice is generally a little bit higher, kind of like chest voice up a little bit higher, I've and just for most of my life I've had a high voice. So with my singing mentor, he's a baritone, and so I've been challenged and trained kind of to sing a little bit lower through my heart space, which feels really good. It's what I like to hear when I'm standing next to him and he's singing and we're singing in unison. But this particular song, when I'm not singing and between verses in the few seconds that are there, my stomach retracts and my diaphragm squeezes up against my heart. So I have to take long, deep breaths and I sway a little bit to kind of keep me connected and rooted. And then some of the emotion is transferred from this feeling to how I ornament that song and how I draw out the long lines of it, because they exhaust my air supply, and so it robs me of the fuel of sobbing or crying, which is, I don't think it's coincidental. So it keeps me moving through the song. And I kind of, as much as the song is about leaving, I really feel the message is very, it's neutral, if to negative. And that the constant reminders, those people that you're leaving behind you that love you, and that while they probably understand why you're leaving, they don't necessarily want you to leave. And I think that a lot of the people, as immigration picked up more and more in Ireland, a lot of folks are realizing the reality of what that relocation to North America or Australia or Britain was like. and what they'd likely face there as well, which is not much different than what they were facing before, but it is a song that kind of is very much rooted in the grief. And I have to say, at the end of this chapter of our lives, I'm really exhausted by grief, and I'm inspired to change that grief to love and radical acceptance, and just kind of give up the grief and then the anger that comes from that grief. And that's where I am with that song. And it took me a little while to get out of it. I take a couple really deep breaths and hold myself up on this desk and just allow those tears to kind of just to collect, not necessarily fall. And then I could step away from it and listen to some really good shares. So thank you, Jeanette and River, for doing that. And I'm going to stop recording now so we can move forward if that feels good.
Brian, before you stop recording, can I say where I am? Because I never remember. I always go first.
Yeah.
My name is Jeanette. I use she and her pronouns, and I live in a town traditionally known as Sumas in New Chalmers Territory. And there was a residential school in town that just closed in 1978. So some of us were alive then.
Okay, I'm going to stop video.